He's got the most unique perspective on hiring in the self-storage industry of any guest we've ever had on the show. Today on Stories Behind the Door podcast, the managing director at Hirewell, Jim McGuffin. Well, I've had multiple vendors on the show. I've had multiple operators, multiple developers, multiple brokers, both real estate and capital. Today's guest is unique. He is the only recruitment agent that I've ever had on Stories Behind the Door. I'm very much looking forward to today's conversation. Before I jump into it with Jim McGuffin, I want to give a shout out to my friends at Kiwi 2. They've officially changed the name of the company, which is now reflected on their LinkedIn logo, which I love. I want to give a shout out to Wayne Woolsey and his whole crew. I've gotten a chance to hang out with them here at the Northeast Self-Storage Expo, where I am for the last couple of days. Check out kiwiconstruction.com if you have any ground-up projects in the works in self-storage or small bay flex. The earlier you get them involved with your project, the more they can put their 30 years of experience to work to help your project succeed. Well, he's Jim McGuffin, managing director of Hirewell. He's sitting in a very unique place, and we'll get to that in a minute. Jim, thanks so much for taking some time to come and join the show. I start off always with the same question. Storage is such a unique industry. You have such a unique role in the industry, which is playing the recruiting game and helping find great talent and place great talent. Tell me how Jim McGuffin got involved in this unique role in the self-storage industry.
Well, we do. Thanks for having me. First off, thanks for having me. My pleasure to be here. You and I have had a relationship and a friendship that goes back a number of years. So I am truly honored to be here. The thing about recruiting, I'll talk about how do people fall into recruiting in general. For almost all of us, it's luck. It's a little bit of fate, whether that's good fate and you're successful or bad luck and it chews you up because there's a lot of turnover. But I don't know if anyone dreams of being a recruiter. I fell into it about 15 years ago. And I guess I've survived this long, which is good. But then some days, and you can see I have fully gray hair. If I wasn't a recruiter, I may have all brown hair. But self-storage, while we recruit in every asset class, multifamily, office, industrial, retail, you name it, I am very proud of the niche that we've carved in self-storage. And I think it's a result of our focus on it. We predicted wisely the vibrancy of the self-storage market, way back in COVID, era, if people can remember back 6 years. I think we predicted that it would be a very vibrant sub-asset class. So we took the time to invest the relationships in it, to attend almost all the major self-storage conferences. And recruiting really is, you kind of chase a prior search. For instance, we do something and another firm says, hey, you placed a CFO in self-storage development, which is obviously very unique in self-storage. And we've probably serviced, if you think of the top 25 operators, owners, developers, we've probably serviced close to a third, if not more than a third of them since COVID. But we chose to put the energy into this sub-asset class.
I'm interested in, and first of all, let me say this, and I told you this off air before, but you met me at a time in my storage career where I was still very new, and I was in a tumultuous place. And even though you didn't end up recruiting me for a particular company, just to sit down with you and shout out to my friend Jim McGuffin, who introduced us a few years ago, just sitting down with you and having the conversation that we had, that was back in Vegas in 2023 at the National SSA show. It was incredible for me to reach a point where I knew that a recruiting agent was even willing to sit down and have that conversation with me. And so as someone whose career has stabilized incredibly since then, always wanted to share my gratitude for that role that you played, even though it wasn't, as I said, placing a job. It was something that gave me a lot of confidence at the time. So I appreciate that. I want to ask you, it's such a unique thing that you're doing, right? And a lot of people, if they're not exposed to higher levels of executive roles, don't even know that your world exists. What does it take to be successful at recruiting and placing great talent?
Well, the success comes from your network. and building trust in the candidate pool, the community, that when we have something, both people are paying attention to us, candidates are paying attention to us. If we call, email, text, it gets returned, and it takes a while to build that. But also, having that network speeds up the process. It would be very difficult for a client to come to us, particularly in self storage, and have a need that we don't know someone that would fill it, and that's already self-identified as being warm and approachable, whether they're between positions or feel like their growth has stagnated in their current role. So it's really simply network, and having that, and that's what has enabled us to be as successful as we have been.
I'm interested to get your take. You talked about identifying storage as a niche that you folks knew was gonna be strong, and certainly has played out that way, especially if you look at what's going on at a REIT or institutional level with the consolidation and the growth we're seeing in those assets. How have the last few years been from your perspective relative to what it was like during COVID on the hiring front and the placement front?
Well, there's no doubt that the calendar years, 21, 2, 3 were more vibrant in hiring than 4, 5, and 6 have been. And that is not necessarily a uniform suppression, because the deal making roles are the ones that have really de-escalated the last couple of years, the development, the acquisitions, the capital markets roles. But we still, and the market is still vibrant enough that there's a lot of mobility, there's a lot of opportunity, but certainly it doesn't match the frenzy that was 21 to 3, and that saw the salary increases. Salary increases kind of regardless of job went up 10 to 15% across the board. We've seen those stabilize, but the counterbalance to that is the operational roles, asset management, property management, accounting. All of our clients, whether they're uh, one of the large REITs or a privately held, family owned platform, they all want to squeeze as much revenue and
Yeah.
life and viability out of their portfolio as they can.
It's fascinating you say that. As I mentioned, I'm sitting in Foxwoods Casino at the Northeast Storage Expo right now, and all of the education sessions are concentrating on operations and how to drive revenue and lower expenses. Very different world than we were when I first sat down with you in 2023. It started to shift a little bit because we met in September of 2023, and the interest rate hikes had already taken a little shine off the gemstone, but it hadn't gotten to quite the place it's gone to now, as far as what's going on that on the development side. I'm interested to ask you, when you're looking to place somebody, whether it's operational, obviously not as much on the deal making side today. What are the traits you're looking for in a candidate? Are they unique to the position that you're trying to hire someone for? Or are there traits that you want to see no matter what role you're trying to place someone in?
Well, that's a great question. There are basically two sides to making the perfect placement with a candidate. The technical side is probably the easier side to identify. And with every search we do, regardless of asset class or job type or seniority, really getting that apples for apples exact fit. Um, it's not easy, but it's certainly the more direct side of the search process. The culture side is the harder side, and that's where it takes more time to not only begin by learning your clients, learning what your client's culture is. Is it overly corporate? Is it hair down? I have one self storage client that no one wears long pants, no one wears a shirt with a collar. There's a company dog walking around. And then I have some kind of legacy city based clients that are very corporate, uh, in office, at your desk, feet on the floor, collared, tie buttoned up, and knowing what the culture is of your client, which is something we take great pride at Hirewell is, and I don't know if I and we have the uh, largest uh, travel budget in the industry, but it feels that we get out more and walk our clients' offices, walk the properties, because if
Love it.
you don't calibrate culture correctly, it's not going to work. So that's the hardest part, and it's really the most fun part.
I'm going to preface this by saying I'm incredibly happy where I'm at and not looking to move at all. But you can tell by wearing a black T-shirt to do my podcast every time. There's one of those situations that I would 100% not fit into. Will
Mhm.
never put a tie on again unless my wife forces me to for a family event. That's too funny. I love that. I wanted to ask this question: how important is it for you? You know, obviously you talked about relationships and network. If you put a placement in the wrong place, you know, what does that do for your relationship, not only with the company that you're placing that recruit for, but then your ability to go convince other recruits to take the leap and put them in a new job?
Yeah, it's about trust on both sides of the street. Having what we refer to as a high stick rate, and our stick rate with our placements is north of probably 95%. Last time we did an audit, it was just about 95%, and that is candidates who stay for multiple years at a minimum. Um, Without that stick rate, you don't build trust on the client side. You know, if you're placing people there and they're paying a fee for the placement, if the
Yeah.
person leaves and that becomes a habit, well, we're not going to get repeat business. And well over 80% of our searches are from repeat clients. In terms of candidates, one of the things we take pretty great amount of pride in is really being public about our placements. Our competitors, and I say this tongue in cheek, often our competitors will say, "We placed a CFO in self storage in Florida. Trust us. We did this. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't." At
Yeah.
Hirewell, we will, when not with every placement, but if comfortable of our clients, and we ask for permission always, we like to say we placed Jane Smith, CFO, you know, ABC
ABC
storage,
equities.
right?
Yeah.
And we put that on LinkedIn, and that has really earned us a lot of credibility, I think, relative to our peers, who basically say, "Hey, we've done these things. You can believe us. You should hire us." Where we at Hirewell are very transparent. If there is a reason that we need to be confidential, of course we are. But we've really grown our business by showing the marketplace what we've done, linking to the professionals' LinkedIn page, so other prospective clients can look and see, wow, that lady, that gentleman looked great. This is what Hirewell can deliver. I want to pick up the phone and call Hirewell, which is probably why we have significantly more inbound business requests than any of our door knocking. We don't really have time to door knock a bunch because firms are always asking us, can you help us do the same thing? So it's about trust, Thaddeus. That's a long-winded answer.
Listen, when you're a podcast host filling 30 minutes, you don't mind long-winded answers at all, especially when they're informative. So I'll
Sure.
take that every single time. Leads naturally into my next question, which is, what's harder, finding a talented person that fits the technical description of the job and fits the culture of the job, or convincing that person to actually take the leap and go take the job?
Good question. Can I say both? No. Again, we have the technology, we have the software, we have the teams of recruiters that are knowledgeable enough. And by the way, shout out to my recruiting team. I have the best team in the business. We know how to identify people quickly, and we do have that network that we talked about. So whenever we're asked to lead an engagement, within 24, 48 hours, we've generated the candidate. So the challenge becomes the harder challenge is convincing that person to leave the job because, quite frankly, we are recruiting the best of the best. We are generally recruiting people who are stable. We are certainly recruiting people that have a background and a track record of success. So convincing someone, to kind of go from good to great with their employment situation. That is hard. And the one thing you've mentioned, and here I'll give a long-winded answer so you can either curse me or thank me in advance. But with this employment market the last few years, and with the interest rates and the macroeconomic challenges, we've seen a very interesting phenomenon where usually, and I'll give a visual aid, the job market is like a seesaw or a teeter-totter, depending on where you grew up. Demand is up, supply down, supply up, demand down. What we've seen in the last couple of years is kind of a push down on both. Companies obviously have suppressed hiring because the macros aren't having them develop as much or acquire as much. But then the candidates are becoming a little more risk adverse, that they're saying, I don't want to be first in, last out. My situation here is good enough for now. Let me ride this storm out. So we've seen both that there's been that suppression, but the hardest again is convincing someone who's in a very good situation to take a leap to a great situation. And that's typically our standard, is recruiting people who are already vibrant, successful, they have a track record and all those things. That's the harder part.
You don't want to hire people that are terrible at their current position to go convince somebody else they're going to be a good hire. What's wrong with your hiring process?
We won't be around for a long time doing that. No.
You already partially answered my next question, which was going to be, how would you label what's going on for companies right now as far as hiring mode? You've kind of told me it's a little bit muted right now. I guess the follow-up question I would ask to that is, are you seeing signs that maybe as the industry, generally as I go to these conferences, I talk to so many people in the storage industry, people are feeling like people are adjusting to the new normal, right? We a year ago, 2 years ago, was interest rates are going to come down, everything's going to open up. Now it's interest rates are where they're going to be at for a long time, and this is how we're going to do business. Are you starting to feel like there might be a little bit of pickup on that side of it, especially as it relates to hiring?
Yeah, lots to respond to there. When the market did slow down,
I can ask long-winded questions too. You can give long-winded answers. I can ask long-winded questions.
I have no monopoly on long-winded answers. when the market changed with the interest rates and the fighting of inflation in late 23, certainly we saw a slowdown. The adage that was used in our industry and others was survive till 25. Well, we jumped through that. We didn't find anything that rhymed with 26, and now we're trying to think what might rhyme with 27 in terms of the full vibrancy. But it's just been, to coin a quote from my friend Alan Greenspan, what we're seeing now is cautious optimism. The increase, the practical doubling in energy prices over the last 3 months didn't help. I don't necessarily think that it's a hurdle that cannot be overcome, but I probably felt more optimism in January, February, March about the calendar year 26 than I do now. I think that we've kind of seen what 26 is going to look like. And this is a scientific description. It's okay. It's okay. It's not wonderful. We still have, 5 or 6 clients growing their development teams and acquisitions teams. We have that active search now too. So if you're watching and you're a development and acquisitions professional, my partner Chase and I are working that search. We've probably closed, as I mentioned, 5 or 6 already in 2020. That would have been the VP level or above development and or acquisitions roles. Now we're leaning heavier towards development. When we say acquisitions, it's almost always been raw land in 26 as opposed to existing product. Although there's a little bit of that.
I'm surprised by that, honestly. That's interesting.
That's what we've seen. That's what we've
Well,
seen.
you're in it. You're the one that's going to see it. I'm interested because we keep thinking, and I work for a development company. We keep thinking there's going to be a slowdown in ground up development because of the challenge with rates and oversaturation that people are seeing in different markets, and people shift to acquisitions. Of course, the challenge of that is you've got Public Storage raising $500 million at 5% bonds, and the other REITs and big private equity having access to capital at rates below what you can go get debt from a bank.
Well,
And so buying acquisitions is really hard, right? It's not like that's an easy market to go jump into. But I'm interested that for you guys in placement for acquisitions roles, it's more ground up for development than it is for acquisitions.
yeah, probably 5-to-1 ratio
Whew.
in the executive level roles we've placed this year. Yeah, that's been their uh, initiatives for our clients have been that.
It's fascinating to me, and I track a lot of data, and Tracked IQ, which is a data partner of my other podcast that I do, and we aren't seeing the slowdown. When you look at construction starts and development pipeline, it just doesn't seem to be slowing down, which is fascinating, and I guess goes to confirm how smart you guys were back in 2021 to see the absolute growth that storage was going to undergo, even in times that are challenging. And you mentioned, obviously, you guys are involved in a bunch of different real estate asset classes as well. It's not like it's all rainbows and butterflies in multifamily and office and
No.
retail and et cetera. So even though we might think we've got big problems in storage, people are still coming to build new facilities, which is incredible.
Yeah, there's still activity. It's never as much as we would like, and like any ambitious recruiter or developer, the answer to that question is always more. How much more do you want? Well, more. We'll tell you when we had enough. But it is okay, and there are also pockets, geographic pockets. We're a national search firm. We literally have a Seattle search now, a Miami search, Orange County, California, and New York, and all points in
You get
between.
the four corners covered.
Yeah, we probably have 50, 55 searches now in 25 states, which is not all of them, but half. I think if my math is right, I think 25 is half of 50. Uh, it's different though everywhere. It's different. There are headwinds, there are tailwinds depending on the geography. Um, so it's not the same everywhere. It's really not the same economic recovery everywhere. It's different.
I'm fascinated that you have 55 job searches going on, quite frankly. And again, maybe because of the role I play, and especially the other podcast I do that's really news oriented,
Mhm.
it's easy to kind of get caught up in negative headlines, right? But I mean, that speaks to a pretty, and listen, you guys are an amazing company, you do amazing work, but you're not the only, source of jobs that are being searched for. So to think that Hirewell by yourselves has 55 different jobs that you're trying to place currently in the storage industry, that's a pretty good sign of the health of the industry.
Well, I owe it all to my team. The dozen recruiters on our real estate team are the reason why we're successful. We also owe it to our clients and the trust they've placed in us. And yeah, we're very fortunate. We're very proud. We work very hard at it, but yeah, we're still very vibrant. I actually put a LinkedIn post around lunch yesterday that we've kicked off 17 new searches this week. Um, and then
Wow.
that was as of lunch yesterday. Then I had two other searches come in between lunch and the end of the business day. So I said, well, heck, I should have put 19 because now I got 19.
You got
Um,
to edit that post, Jim. You got
yeah,
to edit that post. Put the little edit tag at the bottom.
yeah. I often get asked by candidates, do I have one central website that has all 55 searches? And I said, no. And the reason I don't is my team and I would fatigue any webmaster or internet professional on our website with, we filled this, we got this, we filled this, we got this. I just tell people a couple things. Here's a shameless plug. Follow us on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
As I mentioned earlier, we are going to be more transparent than any of our competitors on LinkedIn. Our industry is one wrought with paranoia and wrought with a little bit of intimidation of our competitors. Well, we don't have that gene. We weren't born with it. We don't have it. I'm not worried about it. I know it's a very territorial industry, and a lot of our competitors are looking over their shoulder and sharpening their elbows and all this stuff. Our philosophy is do great work, be transparent about it, and we'll grow. And it's worked. So my shameless plug is Jim at Hirewell.com. Always just send me your resume. We have a communication distribution list that's now north of 30,000 candidates that have already been, I guess this is all asset classes, that have identified over my 15 years of doing this, that they're in the market. So at least once a week, we'll send out either one current search, or yesterday we sent out 17 in one email blast. So Jim at Hirewell.com, email me, or follow me or any of us, our team on LinkedIn, because we have searches. We have
it.
Right.
I want to ask you one more technical question relative to the job before I move on, but AI, obviously the big catchword, technology, whether it's really AI or it's more like tech workflow technology. How are you guys seeing that impact? Is it affecting certain jobs that you're no longer placing as much? Are there technology jobs that are now more, companies are now trying to hire more people to fill those slots? How are you seeing AI impact what's going on in the job market?
There's basically three parts of the recruitment process that AI could have an impact. One is identifying candidates. Two is convincing. We already talked about this. How do you convince someone? How do you sell them on the opportunity? And then the third is the presentations we generate for our clients. Well, how do we give them a digestible, deep yet not too wordy presentation on these candidates? So it's either identifying, soliciting, or presenting the candidate. In the middle, it's really hard. AI can do a lot of great things, but selling an opportunity, giving the nuance about what is special about this opportunity, what's special about our clients, they don't have utility there that I've seen. So that middle part, not much. When it comes to soliciting, identifying clients, yes, it helps. It could help scrub the websites for the individuals, articles for individuals. I know in recruiting, the default position, and I say this lovingly, lazy recruiting is only relying on people on LinkedIn, or thinking or assuming that any candidate's on LinkedIn. If they're not a worthy candidate. AI can help with that. Although we've frankly had tools in the market that preceded this AI boom for the last 10 years that have helped identify folks. But there are tools we use that, unlike your sponsor at the beginning, they're not paying us support. In fact, they charge us, which is kind of. If they didn't charge me, I'd plug them.
You got to plug them, and then maybe you can call them and be like, "Hey, I gave you a plug on the biggest podcast in storage."
Yeah,
I might be fudging that a little bit.
But because I'm paying them every month to use the tool, I don't feel like giving a free plug. But there's been tools we've used for at least 10 years that help us identify, and AI has helped with that. So there's a little bit of help on that. When it comes to the presenting of the candidate to the client, it can help. It can help with making sure your presentations are thorough. I'm of a certain age that I was always trained. I still write in cursive. Thaddeus, I'll tell you how old I am, right? I write in cursive.
I'm of an age.
Yeah.
Hey, I would be remiss if I didn't finish by asking you not only the most unique position of anyone I've ever had on the show, you've got the most unique backdrop. Tell me a little bit about where you're sitting and why you're sitting there.
Well, I'm in Lubbock, Texas, home of the Red Raiders. Wreck 'em, guns up for any Red Raiders watching. It's one of the places that I spend a considerable amount of time. Uh, we headquarter our real estate team headquarters in Dallas. I spent a bunch of time in Lubbock. There's actually a co-working space here at the football stadium. So if I'm lucky, sometimes I can watch players working out during the workday. But I'm at the stadium here where I have a co-working space. But here again, shameless plug. We have recruiters across the country, several in Florida, several in California, Chicago, all points in between. We have people everywhere because we're doing searches everywhere. But this is one of my favorite places to work.
You told me off camera before, and very admirable. People that know me know I'm driven by my family. That's what makes me do what I do. You live in Lubbock because of your kids that attended Texas Tech, which I think says a ton about you. I'll give you a shameless plug, and to anybody watching that maybe, even if you're not looking to make a move necessarily, connect with Jim. He's an incredible fountain of information and somebody you should be connected with and can keep you abreast of what's going on in the industry in an incredible way. One last time, want to thank you so much for taking a half hour. You're in Central Time, so it was really early for you. You got on here at 8 a.m., which I super appreciate. He's Jim McGuffin, managing director at Hirewell, incredible specialist at recruiting in the self-storage industry. I'm Thaddeus Campbell. I want to give one more shout out to my friends at Kiwi 2. I got to get used to the new name. I've been seeing Kiwi 2 Construction for over a year now. Wayne Woolsey and his team, 30 plus years of putting up steel buildings, literally the best crews in self-storage and small bay flex. Urge you, if you're doing a ground up project, reach out to them early in the process. They have 30 plus years of experience, can save you a lot of mistakes, even from the beginning entitlement and design stage. Go to kiwisteel.com. One last time, Jim, thanks so much for coming and joining us.
Thanks,
I will see everybody next time.